loudest official sound.
Okay, we'll start with this. Reactions are now pouring in to the ongoing feud in the boxing landscape between the competing entities. Roth. Elusive 2.0 stated, Conor Ben fighting on Tyson Fury's Netflix undercard speaks volumes about the power politics at play here. Zuffa signed Conor Ben, Eddie's biggest earner in 2025, and promotes Tyson Fury's comeback fight, Warren's biggest draw, putting both fighters on the same show in the UK, Frank and Eddie's backyard, and they've now cut them both out from any revenue generated from their most valuable fighters. It's quite the power flex. D Styles, friend of the channel, said, I'm convinced Turkey had Ben signed to one fight with Zuffa just to prove a point. He wanted to show these promoters they're middlemen, and anyone can be a middleman when Saudis are forking up the money. Just a vulgar display of power. They've been paying premium price for all these fights. He's just showing them who really runs the show. Just a vulgar display of power. Veteran boxing scribe Adam Catterall said, Ring, Sella, TKO, Zuffa, putting on a boxing event involving two of the biggest commercial stars from the top two British promoters in a stadium in the British promoter's backyard, and not having either of those promoters involved is a statement of intent. Boxing is at war.
War is upon us!
My old college roommate, Wade Clemens, said the underlying message of this whole thing is that Tyson Fury and Conor Ben are on the same card in a stadium show on Netflix in the UK, and neither Frank or Eddie are promoting them. I told you war was coming to boxing, and it has arrived! Big MMA fan, big Dana White UFC supporter, Front Row Brian said the war is already over. Frank and Eddie lost. They had a sugar daddy in DAZN, and they failed. Their failure opened the door for Zuffa. Sheikh Turkey is making the rational decision. If you want to conquer boxing, who do you pick to ride with? Ari Emanuel, Dana White, Nick Khan, Larry, and David Ellison, or Edward Hearn and Frank Warren? I don't know that boxing is something that you can conquer, because frankly, it's too fragmented and too big, and trying to compartmentalize it and condense it, isn't that what the PBC tried to do? I think the aforementioned players, Ari Emanuel, Dana White, Nick Khan, Larry, and David Ellison, are more astute businessmen than Al Heyman could hope to be, but still, trying to create a biosphere where you have full hegemonical control is not that dissimilar from Al Heyman's approach, and coming in and spending big wads of cash to make big statements, that's what Al Heyman did. We've seen this before. Upon the inception of Al Heyman's PBC, when they still had all that Waddle and Reed money, and when DAZN debuted in America, spending all the money they did to draw a talent to their platform, that's not that dissimilar from what Zuffa's doing now, or at least what's being done on their behalf when somebody kicks out $15 million for Conor Ben to fight Regis Prograis. That's still wasteful spending. Any way you slice it, and anywhere it comes from. Now, where it's coming from, it's not coming from Zuffa, and it's not even coming from Netflix. It's coming from Turkey. A vulgar display of power. A generous benefactor who not that long ago was being generous to Frank and generous to Eddie. Now he's being generous to Dana, to Nick Khan, to Zuffa. After 2 years of working with all the big-time promoters in boxing, he decided to run out and get the MMA guy, launch his Zuffa Boxing, help him to do it. Why? Now, maybe after 2 years of being immersed in the sport and putting big-time fights together, he, in his own opinion, figured out what was wrong and what needed fixing, at least in his own mind, and he feels that boxing can't be fixed from within. No, it needs a complete overhaul. You need to bring in an outsider. But not just any outsider, somebody who's got a track record of producing results and running a soluble business. Dana White, Nick Khan, Ari Emanuel, you know the names. But does that Does that in and of itself guarantee Zuffa's success? Grand gestures from Turkey and business acumen from them. Does this mean that the existing games in town days are numbered as a result of Zuffa's inception? And I would say no, because outside of a few familiar names that they had to overpay to acquire, you can look at the full Zuffa boxing roster right now, and I don't see any name in there that's supposed to compete with a fight like this weekend's fight, for example, Navarrete versus Nuñez. It's a fantastic fight. It's everything that's right with boxing, and in the Zuffa boxing stable right now, I don't see a fight like that. Conor Ben versus Regis Prograis is not the equivalent. Now, because Zuffa is making a conscious effort to poach everybody else's top draws, you can expect the contracts to be restructured, ironclad. Contrary to what Front Row Brian, a big MMA guy, would have you believe, the war isn't over, it's just getting started, and even if Zuffa appears to be ahead of the curve, when the dust settles, it's gonna boil down to know-how. Who knows how to develop the next wave of top draws and top earners, and who doesn't? And experience would have to go to Eddie, would have to go to Frank, Oscar, all the guys at Top Rank. Because they know a hell of a lot more about that than Dana White and anybody over there at Zuffa could hope to know. It's very easy to come in spending massive sums of cash to acquire what they have already built. But fighters rise and fall like the wheat, and when those fighters are done, do you know how to build fighters of your own? Or is your know-how really just limited to spending Turkey's money? No, I would not count out Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren. I would not count out the existing promoters in boxing. There's room for two things to be true at the same time. Zuffa is a powerhouse, and they're here to stay. They're here to compete. And they've already proven themselves a worthy adversary. But they are not yet the victors in this war. Tell you that fights like this weekend's fight between Navarrete and Nuñez is how the old guard can assert their independence, can stand their ground. Now as it pertains to that fight, Eduardo Nuñez promises a gunpowder firefight with Emmanuel Navarrete. Glendale, Arizona. Eduardo Sugar Nuñez has participated in 30 pro bouts, stands as IBF Super Featherweight Champion, and has knocked out 27 of his opponents. But if you've never seen him fight and haven't heard much of him, he understands and is positioned to do something about it on Saturday when Mexico's Nuñez meets countryman and WBO champion Emmanuel Navarrete at the Desert Diamond Arena on DAZN. You'll see gunpowder and a fight that ends in a knockout, Nuñez told Boxing Scene on Wednesday after visiting with fans at a Glendale Auto Parts store. Perhaps the locale was fitting because Nuñez, 28, has built his career as if he was wielding wrenches and screwdrivers while denting his hands underneath a vehicle lift. His brilliance of finishing 18 of his bouts by the end of the third round was obscured because they took place in Mexico with little television viewership, while 3-division champion Navarrete 31 was backed by the promotional muscle of Top Rank, meaning his major prior fights were shown on ESPN. Nuñez was discovered by veteran advisor Sean Gibbons, landed a union with Matchroom, and now is positioned for a breakout performance. Indeed. This will be the biggest fight of Sugar Nuñez's career so far. Thank you to all the people who are looking forward to this fight. I've put in all the hard work to ensure this will be a great fight for the fans, he said. Navarrete is also all action, but his motor has sputtered in the recent past. His 2024 effort to become a 4-weight world champion was thwarted by then unbeaten Dennis Berenchik, who promptly turned over the WBO lightweight title to Keyshawn Davis. And in May, Navarrete was gifted a technical decision win over Charlie Suarez after a video replay that was inconclusive during the California State Athletic Commission's allotted review time, ultimately indicating a punch, not a headbutt, forced Navarrete to stop. A timely ruling would have made the Philippines' Suarez the winner. Now he's here, hoping to get a crack at Saturday's winner. Asked if he believes Navarrete is ripe for a beating Saturday, Nuñez expressed respect.
Even enemies can show respect.
I think he's a great champion and a great warrior, Nuñez said. While some things have not gone his way, perhaps, I still believe he is a wonderful fighter, and we've put in the hard work, knowing he's a great champion and that we all have to give it our all. Nuñez said new fans should expect Sugar Nuñez will go in very well prepared. With that winning mentality, you can expect a great fight. In addition to Suarez, WBC 130-pound champion O'Shaquie Foster and top-ranked WBC featherweight champion Rafael Espinoza loom as future foes. To be totally sincere, I'm totally focused on the commitment on the fight in front of me against the great champion, Nuñez said when asked if he could show an indication he maintains interest in Foster and Espinoza. Nuñez picked up some English direction quickly. He nodded yes and laughed vigorously, showing a sense of humor, check, revealing his true punching wickedness that comes Saturday.
Yeah, Nuñez punches hard, but so does Emmanuel Navarrete, and where Nuñez is a pressure fighter, so is Emmanuel Navarrete.
Nuñez didn't look too hot in his last fight against Puerto Rico's own Pitufo Diaz. But then again, Emmanuel Navarrete didn't look too hot in his last fight with Charlie Suarez. So this is a genuinely tough fight to call. I would say that Sugar Nuñez's pressure is more conventional and more textbook. He's a close quarters fighter. Likes to stay with you, stay on you.
Looks to be 1 or 2 inches shorter than Emmanuel Navarrete. We all know what Emmanuel does to the short guys.
Emmanuel's pressure is not as consistent or conventional as Sugar's. Emmanuel fights in bursts. He just suddenly explodes and starts stringing together 3, 4, 5 punch combinations.
He's a southpaw.
And he's not a conventional boxer by any means. I've often heard Timothy Bradley say that Emmanuel Navarrete, in an X's and O's sense, does everything wrong, but somehow makes it work.
Is it going to work this Saturday?
Or is Sugar catching an aging fighter at the right time? That even though Emmanuel's only 31 years old, he's a weathered 31 years old. Long in the tooth after many wars.
I love this fight.
It's genuinely tough to call for all the right reasons. Now circling back to our previous segment about these feuding promoters. Zuffa's got a lot of tools and a lot of potential, but I don't yet see the ingredients to make a fight like Nuñez versus Navarrete, and overpaying to acquire Conor Benn for a glorified tune-up fight is not its equivalent.
And what really makes that fight a big deal is that it's on Netflix. That is a game changer.
But now that the established game in town know what you're up to, and they know what you mean to do, there are going to be countermeasures. So how many times is Zuffa going to be able to do that? There are still a lot of questions about Zuffa and what things are going to look like in the next few months, the next calendar year. Even Jai Opetaia, who they recently signed, seems in the dark, seems confused.
Still actively holding your title in the IBF? Are you still holding that belt? You haven't relinquished anything with the signing of Zuffa?
No way. That's my world title belt, man. And I spoke to the IBF today here. But I'm proud to hold that belt, and I'm willing to fight for it. You know what I mean? I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I don't understand, the ins and outs that much. There's a bit of becomes a bit of a sticky situation. But man, I'm focused. I've got a job to do. And I've got a fight to win. And without winning all these fights, bro, all these fucking words mean nothing.
Jai's not one for mincing words, he's not one for talking, but there is a lot of confusion associated with his reign, his continued reign, as IBF champion and fighting for the inaugural Zuffa cruiserweight title, because that's going to be on the line too in the upcoming Brendan Glenton fight.
Now, I don't think Jai minds at all fighting for that inaugural title to add that one to his collection, but we all know the ones he's really after, the ones that he's been after, as he warns Zuffa Boxing and Dana White over that unification promise.
Undisputed, don't take your mind off Undisputed. We're chasing unification fights. If we don't get one by the end of the year, I'll be very fucking disappointed. Undisputed, when you think of me, you think, bro, he wants to be undisputed. That's it. I'm not worried about anyone else. I don't chase these names. I don't even care if it was Zurdo, or if it was Benavidez, or if it was back when it was Billum Smith. I actually respect these dudes. I think that they're great fighters. I think they're great world champions. The cruiserweight picture going into 2026 is messy, but the root is there. Opetaia has the IBF, the Ring Magazine, and Lineal Crown. Noel Michelian holds the WBC. Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez brings the WBA and WBO titles into a May 2nd defense against David Benavidez at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Opetaia is starting straight at the winner, while also pushing for Michelian and the green belt. Opetaia has said he wants the winner of that fight. He's also demanded a shot at Michelian's title. A contracted agreement reportedly already exists. for Opetaia to face the winner of the Michaelian-Jack rematch, which Michaelian won in December. WBC President Mauricio Suleiman has publicly backed the idea of an Opetaia versus Michaelian unification bout. If he's lucky, that might be the one that he gets, because there's no guarantee the winner of Benavidez versus Ramirez will give him a shot.
I've never said a bad word about them. I've never said that they were bad people or they're idiots or anything like that. All I've said is I want to fight them out of respect of being undisputed, and I believe they are hard fights, but doesn't that excite you? Fucking undisputed, hard fight, you've got to earn it. No one can take that shit away from you, so let's get it over the line.
When you see that Turkey El Al Sheikh on behalf of Zuffa Boxing is kicking out purse amounts like $15 million to Conor Ben for a goddamn Regis Prograis fight, you naturally figure that he would do something similar to get Jai Opetaia to undisputed, because he's with Zuffa now. But even with Turkey's backing, there's no guarantee he gets the winner of Benavidez versus Ramirez. No guarantee, none whatsoever.
What about the money?
The old saying goes, scared money don't make money. And I think that both of those guys are more scared than they are hard up to make money, which is why they're fighting each other. Opetaia has already burnt 3 years chasing a unification bout that never happened. He went 3-0 last year, stopping David Naika, Claudio Sequeiro, and Hussein Sankara, while other champions circled different options in different networks. When Zuffa entered the room, the appeal was simple. They said they wanted the same thing he did, and they promised the machinery to finally make it happen. There were a couple of things. They had the same goal as us. We sort of sat down, we went over what we wanted to do, and they said they can help us make sure things happen like that, and they're gonna help us make sure it happens the way we want it to the best of their ability. But yeah, man, it just fit. It made sense, so why not? The tension in his partnership sits right at the center of Zuffa's identity. Zuffa is selling itself as the fix for boxing's broken politics, and Dana White has talked openly about building a UFC-style model with Zuffa and ring belts and pushing the traditional sanctioning bodies to the side. If that hard line clashes with the reality of signing a champion who needs the WBC, WBA, WBO, and IBF straps to become undisputed, something has to give. Opetaia turned 30 in June of last year and has already floated a move to heavyweight once cruiserweight is cleaned out. The window is not huge. He has the wins, the style, and the attitude for a legacy run. What he does not control is whether or not Zuffa, the sanctioning bodies, and the rival promoters all play their part fast enough to stop 2026 ending with those same belts still scattered, and a champion who did everything right and still ends up disappointed. Make a long story short, Zuffa's got a lot of money.
But even that doesn't guarantee he will get the winner of Benavidez versus Zurdo. I would sooner expect him to maybe get Noel Michaelian because he's not otherwise busy.
But that still leaves 2 belts to complete the set. What Jai Opetaia is after is the same honor that Usyk was bestowed.
Usyk had the good fortune of fighting in a tournament that had all the belts on the line. Jai Opetaia,
his road to undisputed is taking a lot longer through no fault of his own.